In the bloody chaos of the 100 Years' War, the fate of France hung by a thread. Soldiers had fought for decades. Kings had risen and fallen. Yet salvation came not from a knight nor a general, but from a teenage girl who claimed to hear the voice of God. They tried to burn her name from history. Instead, they set it in stone. This is the story of the Maid of Orléans, Joan of Arc. And believe me, her fire burned brighter than the one they lit beneath her feet. Welcome to Bulletproof Tales. Joan was born in 1412 in the village of Domremy. Life was simple, tending sheep, going to mass, and living in the shadow of war. The English had carved deep into French lands, and the French crown was barely holding on. At just 13, Joan claimed she began hearing voices. The Archangel Michael, St. Catherine, St. Margaret. They gave her one command: drive the English from France and see Charles crowned king. She was a peasant girl, no training, no armor, no reason for anyone to listen. But Joan had something rare, a belief so unshakable it was contagious. She told her parents of her mission. They told her it was impossible. Her response: God had already decided. At 16, she made the dangerous journey to Vaucouleurs, demanding to speak to the local commander. He laughed in her face. She returned months later, this time with such conviction, such presence, that the laughter stopped. They sent her to the Dauphin himself, the uncrowned Charles VII. Charles, curious but skeptical, devised a test. He hid among his courtiers to see if she could find him. Without hesitation, Joan walked straight to him and bowed. She told him she would see him crowned in Reims, a city deep in enemy territory. She was given armor, a sword, and command of a small army. Soldiers who had been fighting for years now marched behind a teenage girl. And in 1429, she rode to Orléans, a city under siege, its people starving, its defenders ready to give up. Joan didn't just fight, she led, charging through storms of arrows, planting her banner on the enemy's ramparts, rallying men who had lost all hope. In just 9 days, the siege was broken. Orléans was free. After Orléans, Joan's reputation exploded. The people called her the Maid of Orléans, God's chosen warrior. In the months that followed, she led French forces through victory after victory. She cut through enemy lines at Patay, turned the tide of battles, and carried Charles VII all the way to Reims. On July 17th, 1429, Joan stood beside him as the crown was placed upon his head. The cathedral rang with cheers. For the first time in decades, France believed it could win. But crowns come with politics, and politics can be deadlier than swords. In 1430, during a skirmish near Compiègne, Joan was pulled from her horse and captured by Burgundian forces, allies of the English. Instead of a hero's ransom, she was sold to her enemies. The trial that followed was not about justice. It was about destroying her image. They accused her of witchcraft, heresy, even of wearing men's clothing, a charge that was enough to damn her in the eyes of the church. Through months of interrogation, they tried to trap her in her words, twist her visions into lies. But Joan held her ground. She told them, "I am not afraid. I was born to do this." On May 30th, 1431, Joan of Arc was led into the marketplace of Rouen. She was 19 years old. Her white gown blew softly in the morning breeze. The stake stood tall in the center, surrounded by kindling and rope. They chained her, lit the wood, and as the flames rose, she cried out the name of Jesus. Witnesses claimed they saw a dove rise from the smoke. When the fire died, her ashes were thrown into the Seine, as if to erase her forever. They failed. Her name only grew. 25 years later, the church overturned her conviction. 1920, Pope Benedict XV canonized her as St. Joan of Arc. Today, she is not just a saint. She's a symbol of courage, of defiance, of standing unshaken against impossible odds. Joan of Arc proved that a single voice, even one born in the humblest of places, can echo through centuries. Her body turned to ash, but her fire, that still burns, showing us once again, ideas are bulletproof.